Take me higher, off the ground. We're on fire, but I need you now. Take me higher, off the ground. We're on fire, but I need you now. 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 Take me higher,
Good
off
evening.
the
Hello,
ground.
hello.
We're on fire, but I need you now. Take me higher, off the ground. We're on fire.
Hi, hi, hello. Hi, Cheryl. Got about a minute, and I will go ahead and get started so we can jump right in and join some granny squares. Cheryl, did you do your homework? You did do your homework. Good. I'm gonna show you guys a couple different things, I think. Alright. So I think, Cheryl, I think it's just me and you and the husband, and he's not crocheting, so I think it's gonna be just you and I. If somebody else happens to join, that is okay. I will go back and refresh. If there's any issues with video or sound, let me know. So I only did 2 squares instead of the 4 because I wanted to. I know, I don't know why she's not on. I might have to text her and remind her if I don't see her in the next couple minutes. Um, I wanted to show you guys, if somebody else happened to get on that needed me to show them again how to do the squares, I wanted to be able to do that, or um, refresh, just if anybody needed it, but it's just us, so we're good. How many squares did you do? How many did you get done? I don't know why Beth isn't here either, because she said she wasn't here on Sunday because of the Bills game, and there's no Bills game right now, so I don't know where Beth is at, and I don't know where my grandma's at. You did too. Okay, good. Well, that's how many I did too, so we're doing good. Um, if you can see on the screen with the way, and I don't know if you, I set my phone down, everything's going wonky. I don't know if you set yours side by side to see how the squares come out, but there's the diamond, which I think is cool how that plays out. I'm gonna text my grandma and let her know I'm streaming. But anyhow, so one thing I wanted to show you on stream so that it's saved for later is finishing off your square, but you can really do it with any piece of work that you're doing. Move this up because there's no room for my hands. And we need room for the hands. Okay. So when you're finishing up, a lot of times you will finish your last stitch and then you will go into either the top of your chain if you did a chain to start, or into the top of your first actual stitch, which in this case was a double crochet. But another thing that you can do is when you finish that your chain, if you did a chain to start, we're into the top of your first actual stitch, which in this case was a double crochet. But another thing that you can do is when you finish that final stitch, so I'll do that again. It's called an invisible join, and I'll show you why. So you finish your last stitch, in this case it's a double crochet. You pull through your last 2 loops, leaving 1 loop on your hook, and instead of going into the beginning over here, you're going to pull this through. My hook's rolling away. You're going to grab your yarn needle, your darning needle, whatever you want to call it, and thread your needle. Then you're going, instead of going into your chain here, you're going to go into the top of your first stitch, which in this case was a double crochet. So you have your first V right here. So you're going to skip over the chain, go into the top of your V. You're going to go under both loops. So you have that V here. You're going to pull your yarn through. And you don't want to pull it too tight. Then you're going to insert your needle under the back loop only. Not both, just the back loop only. And pull your yarn through again. And what that does is it forms another V. So if you look, right here is where I join my yarn, but it looks like another stitch. So you don't have the knot. Hi, Graham. Ha! She got my text. See? Gotta parent my grandma. Alright, Graham, I'm going to show you this because I don't know if you know it or not, but I'm going to do it again anyway. We're doing an invisible join to finish off our granny square before we join the granny squares. So one more time. So we're getting ready. Chris, shut your mouth. It's the joining that is invisible. There's no knot. You just shut it. Quiet. So you're finishing your last stitch. Like I said, in this case, it's a double crochet. You pull through the last 2 loops so you have that last loop on your hook, and instead of going in for a slip stitch into the top of your chain or the top of your first actual stitch, you're going to pull the yarn through. Thread your needle. You're going to skip over your chain and go into the V that is on the top of your first stitch. So like I said, in this case, a double crochet. You're going into the top under both loops so you have that V. Pull your yarn all the way through. Do not pull it snug because you want it to look just like a stitch. Then you're going to insert your needle under the back loop only of so you have your yarn right here. The stitch that it's coming out of, you're going into the back loop only. And now it looks just like the other stitches. So here is my finished granny square. I'm gonna pull out. Here's my finished granny square. I did do, I redid mine from Sunday, so I chained 3 in the center instead of 6 so that the hole is more proportionate to the other stitches. I also went down a hook size from I was using a K hook on stream. I redid it with a J hook to make everything a little smaller and more snug because my 4-year-old niece said that I should probably give her this blanket because she doesn't have a yarn blanket. She just has regular blankets and she needs a yarn blanket. So this is the back. Um, so you can see, you can't see where I sewed in or weaved in my ends. This is the beginning, which this is why I said I hate doing the chain 3 because it's a little bit more gappy, but I followed the pattern anyway. And then at the top is where I did my invisible join, and you can't see where I joined my yarn because there is no knot. But I'm guessing it's probably, well, where's the chain 3? Okay, that is it. That's the chain 3 here. So I'm guessing it was probably here and I just didn't pull it tight enough. But I weaved in the ends, so it looks good. So once you do your invisible join, you're just going to weave in your end to secure it. Make sure that the tension matches your other stitches. Grandma, did you do your homework? I'm betting not, because you've been busy. By the way, oh, thanks. I don't know if it's the right way, but it's my way, so we're just gonna go with it. So I did my first volunteer day at the new store, and I did have some sales, so that made me excited. People came in and bought my stuff, so that was cool. I'm just threading in this end, so it's out of the way. Okay, so we're good. And now snip it. I'm not going to worry about this tail. I can go back and do that later. I just wanted my edges to be clean. So normally you would go ahead and block this so that it's square and you have nice sharp corners. I'm putting my needle away and I need it, but I'm not going to. I don't ever block my stuff. I probably should, but I don't care. There's a couple different ways that you can join your granny squares. I know my grandma knows the mattress stitch. Cheryl, do you know the mattress stitch? I'll be honest, I just learned how to do this recently because I had to join sleeves onto the sweater I was working on. But we're going to do the mattress stitch anyway. With granny squares, if you're worried that you're not going to be able to do the edges because you've done like the traditional granny stitch here, and like the chains right here might give you a little bit of difficulty, then you can do a single crochet around it if you want to. Busy getting sewing done, and I had a sewing class today for the new machine. It was very helpful. Good. Does that mean you're gonna get my quilt done faster? Whoop whoop. Whip stitch. I don't think the whip stitch and the mattress stitch are the same, but you can whip stitch your stuff to get your granny squares together if you want to. You can also do a mattress stitch, which I'm gonna do. The other thing that you can do is, so you can single crochet your granny stitches or your granny squares together. An easy way to do it is, and I'll do this when I'm done. First, you want to make sure that your squares are lined up properly. And in this case, and this blanket's going to take me forever to get done because I have other things I have to work on. Good. I'm ready for my quilt, Gran. In this case, we have the diamond here. We have where the granny square is split here and here. So I would want the double crochets to be side by side, or I can do it this way so that the traditional granny stitch is side by side, so it forms that diamond this way. And then the other two that I had would go up here, obviously, and go this way to make that a full diamond. But when you're doing it, you can join in the corners here to start, or I always join in the corner, but you want to make sure all your stuff lines up. Make sure your tension was correct and that you don't need to go back through and do anything. But the mattress stitch, I'm not tying a knot because I want to take this apart because there's a couple different methods to joining granny squares and I want to practice while I have the option because I don't do granny squares often. The mattress stitch is just going under your V, which I want you to be able to see that, but I don't know how far I can pull in. And normally you would have your yarn joined somewhere. But the best way I heard it described is like lacing a shoe. So you're going front to back every time. You're going under the V and make sure that you're lining your stitches up. So front to back under both stitches. And then you'll go to the one that's directly next to it on your other granny square. Front to back and pulling through. So like I said, it's like you're lacing your shoelaces. Now, like I said, I just learned how to do the mattress stitch, and I found that I didn't really need to worry about how tight I was making it to begin with, because when I got to the end of whatever I was sewing together, I was able to pull it nice and snug like this when I was done, so it pulls it together really nice. So don't stress too much because you can always pull it snug. You obviously don't want to leave it loose and floppy, but are you able to see what I'm doing? It's really easy. There is a dozen, probably more, methods to joining your granny squares. It just depends on what look you want it to have. Um, with mine, I'm doing all my granny squares from the same ball of yarn, even though these are different colors. They're still from the same ball of yarn. They're from that ombre. So I don't really care about what I'm joining them with. So you see how it's looser up here than it is down here? I can just pull it snug to join those. So it's actually, this is a pretty simple way, but you can already see that my stitches aren't perfectly lined up because I wasn't overly concerned about it. I'll show you the single crochet after I unthread this. take this all apart. Fun for you, you get to sit and watch me take it all apart. Woohoo! What all has everybody been doing this week? Anything fun, interesting? Grandma had a class today. Cheryl, what did you do? Anything exciting? I took my niece today to get her hair colored. It's now pink for her birthday, which is the 27th. But her party is this Saturday, so she got her hair done. Okay. So if you're joining with a single crochet, you're working on your blanket. I've been watching the Discord. It's very pretty. I love the colors. If you're joining with a single crochet, leave a long enough tail that you can weave in your ends when you're done. Do your slip knot. Join up your work so that all your stitches line up. So here is the top of my double crochet for, oh, I'm off camera. Here is the top of my double crochet here and the top of my double crochet here. So these two stitches line up. This would be the bottom of my blanket if I was to keep going. So I'm gonna put my hook through the corner stitches here and grab my yarn. I'm gonna pull this through and chain one. So this is actually, we're gonna be going this way because I can't go this way. So in a corner, you would typically have 3 stitches to give you the corner, but I would be going, and you want to make sure your the back of your work, which you should be able to tell, back to back, like a sandwich. Same sides are together. So you're going to put 1 single crochet in that space in your corner. Then depending on how you joined your squares, which I'm not worrying about it right now, you're going to go in with this one, you're going into the top of this double crochet here. Pull it in a little closer. So you're going into the top of this one and the top of the one directly behind it. Make sure that they're the same stitch on each one, and then just do a single crochet. And you would do that all the way across. Just picking up both pieces of work and making a single crochet. The only reason why I personally don't like this method is because when you're done and you open it up, there's a little bit of a lip here, and I don't like the way that looks. I don't like that there's a little bit, it doesn't stick up, so it lays over the top of your other piece, and I personally don't like the way that looks. So I try not to use the single crochet to join it. But it is a method that you could use if you choose to. Another thing that you can do is a slip stitch. So you're leaving your yarn attached, just like we did before, joining it in the corner with a chain 1. And then again, you're picking up both pieces. So this double crochet and the top of this one here. So you're picking up both pieces of work, grabbing your yarn, pulling through all your work, and pulling through that stitch. Do not pull that too tight. Try to keep your tension semi-loose, because what'll happen is it'll cinch your work together if you're too tight. So don't pull that too snug. So again, you're going under this one and this one, grabbing your yarn, and you're pulling through both pieces of work and the loop on your hook, but keep it loose. We'll do a couple more and then I'll show you what it looks like when you lay it flat. So you're going under, under, grabbing your yarn, and pulling through. So when you do that, there's still a little bit of a ridge here, but it's not nearly as bad as it is with the single crochet. That is a more preferred method for me. I would rather do that than sew. But it still does create just a little bit of a ridge here. So I'll go all the way across with a slip stitch. And then we'll lay it flat. See, now on this one, it's tight. Going through and through. Now you want to be sure, again, to keep your tension loose so your work isn't pulling together, but not so loose that when you lay it flat, you have a gap. I also feel like doing it this way, should you get to the end and realize that your stitches didn't line up, it's a lot easier to take apart than if you sew it together. When you get to the corner, you're going to put one slip stitch into this corner here. And then this would be where you would be picking up your next set of two. So this is what it looks like joined this way. Pull this out. So again, typically when you're done, you would block it so this would lay flat. I'm not going to do that. And then you would do your border, which that's a whole nother list of something you could do. And you would obviously have to weave in your ends. You could do a single crochet border, double crochet, half double crochet. You could do a slip stitch. You could do pretty much anything you want along the border. A ruffle. However you want to do it. That's entirely up to you. But this is where you would want to keep going in this, in this direction, in your vertical direction, until all of that row of granny squares is joined. And then you would go over here and do your next set and keep going vertical the entire time. And then once they're all joined vertically, then you can go back and do your horizontal. Don't try to go this way and then this way and then this way and then this way. You want to keep going. Does that make sense? That's 3 different ways. This is the back. That's 3 different ways that you can join your granny square. I think it's really neat how it forms the diamond here. Like I said, I think that would make a really cool blanket. How you doing, Cheryl? How you doing, Graham? Everybody's quiet. Nobody's... Okay, Grammy said she's doing okay. Graham, I feel like you already know how to do all of this, so this is probably no news to you. Cheryl, you had mentioned wanting to do the magic circle, so I'm going to show you that now. While I have you here. If you still wanted to learn it, did you still want me to show you the magic circle? Oh yes, okay, good. Okay. Okay, so with the magic circle, as I mentioned on Sunday, I don't use this method because I don't feel like it's secure, and I want to know my stuff isn't going to come undone. So with the magic circle, you're wrapping your yarn around your finger twice, just like you're getting ready to do your slip knot. Then you're going to insert your hook underneath the first loop, pick up your back loop, pull it through. Then you're going to pick your yarn up again and chain one. So this is the loop that it creates. So see, like if it just gets tugged, then that all comes undone. I'll show you again. Wrap your yarn around your finger twice. Insert your hook under the front loop. Pick up your yarn and pull through, grabbing that tail again, and you're chaining one. So that's securing the knot. And then a lot of them will say, you know, you're supposed to be chaining, we'll say we're chaining two. So we have that, and then if you were doing a double crochet, you would go right into that loop and do however many stitches of whatever kind it's telling you to do. When I have used the magic loop or the magic circle to start, I'll do however many stitches it tells me to do, and I try to make sure that I work over that tail at some point. I'll pull it around and try to crochet that tail in, hoping it gives it a little bit more security. I'm gonna go around. So then, say I'm at the end of whatever it's telling me to do, like if I'm working on a hat, then you can pull this tight. And essentially that closes up that circle. And then you would just join. I just don't feel like it's secure, but that's just me. It's all personal preference. I've had things that I've made come undone, and it sucks. So I don't want that to happen. But it does close up that circle. So if you're making a hat and you don't want that to be seen, you don't want a hole in the top, you can use that method. Excuse me. The other thing that you can do, as I mentioned before, is you can do your slip knot, insert your hook, and chain one, then chain two. So that would be, if you were doing something with a single crochet, that would be your first. If you're doing a double crochet, you would do 2 or 3 depending on the pattern. Then you would go right into that first chain, and that would be the loop that you're working into. So now I have technically 2 double crochet. Then I would do another one and go right into that, and it's tight. So obviously if you're doing a lot, you're not going to be able to use that method. There would be 3, but you can do quite a few in there. 4, 5. So see, you can get quite a few in there. 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10. So I got 10 double crochet into that just by using a single crochet. The one chain for my loop. And of course this is so snug. There we go. So if I was doing a hat and I was starting with 10 double crochet, there's 10 double crochet in that chain one. And that's a pretty teeny tiny little hole. And I feel like that's much more secure than using the magic circle because there's a knot in there holding my yarn together. And then of course you have, like we did with our granny squares, where you're chaining so many and joining it into a circle. Which is what a lot of patterns will tell you to do. But once you get to a point where you're comfortable enough to make modifications, you'll know what works better for you. So that's a chain 4. And I'm joining into the first chain, wrapping my yarn around my hook, and slipping to form my circle. And then you would just work your stitches per the pattern in the circle. So that would be 3. Obviously, the fewer chains that you do, the smaller the hole will be. But if you're doing more stitches, you'll want to do more chains to make your circle bigger so you can fit more in there. And you'll know with time how big of a circle you need. Does all of that make sense? Is there something you want me to do again? there anything that you guys I think initially my plan was to do one granny square each stream, and then after we do the granny squares, join them together to make a big blanket. But because I have to stop streaming on Sundays because my schedule is getting too busy, um, I decided not to do that just because I feel like doing one granny square a week isn't going to get you very far. It would take forever, and I don't want to do that. I also think that what I might do, there's only one day left in October for stream on the 28th. So I'm thinking I might stream on that Wednesday and then take November and December off and then pick back up in January because my orders are starting to pick up and I don't want to overwhelm myself. So if you have subscribed, that will finish off the month of October. Do not resubscribe for November or December. If you want to resubscribe in January, great, but I feel bad if you subscribe in November and I'm not doing anything. Um, but I will still be checking in on my Discord to make sure that if you need any help with anything, I'm answering any questions that you might have. And if there is something that you're working on that you need me to show you how to do that you're getting stuck with, or a stitch that you want to learn for a pattern, message me in the Discord and I will take the time out to record a video for you really quick of how to do that stitch. I just, right now, with my dieting and the holidays coming up and going to the gym and taking care of kids, I just have entirely too much going on. So I think taking November and December off to prepare for the holidays and to fill my orders is probably the best thing for me right now. So we'll do one more stream on the 28th and then we'll pick back up in the beginning of January, and I will put that information on the Discord page under stream announcements and when we're going to pick that back up, and I will put it on the Facebook page as well when we're going to pick that back up. But for Wednesday, is there anything that you want me to show you specifically or go over again or that you want to work on? Because it's kind of hard to crochet and chat and when you have to type to chat, so that probably won't work. And I'm also hoping come January, when things settle down for the holidays, we can also maybe get in the Discord and actually chit chat sometime and just kind of work on a project together, because you do have the option for voice chatting in the Discord. If there is no special requests or anything that you guys want to work on, I might just call it for the night a little bit early. I just wanted to make sure, but I would love if you guys could keep doing that granny square and attach them with one of the methods that I showed you, and come in January have a piece that you could show me. Trying to think what other stitches. What I personally would say to do is to go back through the videos that we've done the last, 2 months on YouTube or here on Twitch, whatever is still available. If they're not available on my channel, they are available in YouTube. And find the ones that are most difficult for you and brush up on those, because a lot of the patterns that I would like to show you come January will utilize all those stitches, be it the granny square, the shell stitch, or the V-stitch. Most patterns are going to use the double, the half, or the single crochet. They do use triple, but it's not as common. um, and making sure that your tension is consistent. So doing these granny squares would be a good way to work on your tension. It will show you your double crochet, it will show you your granny square, your slip stitch if you choose to join your squares that way, or the mattress stitch to join them. I will look. We also did the waffle stitch, so that's in there. You could work on that too. But I would work on the blanket. I would work on making more of these granny squares because that will help getting your tension consistent and also working on your corners. But Cheryl, you're working on your blanket with the V-stitch right now, so that is actually a really good way to get used to seeing your ends and not dropping any stitches or adding stitches. So that is a good method as well. But I think we'll go ahead and end 15 minutes early because that pretty much sums up joining your granny squares. And then Wednesday, I will look and see if I can find another project. So you guys have a couple different things to work on. But Cheryl, you've got your blanket that you're working on. That'll be time consuming. And then if you decide to continue with this granny square, that'll be time consuming too. Well, thanks for coming in, Cheryl. And Graham, I know you're there somewhere, and my husband is there somewhere. And I will see you guys Wednesday the 28th before break at 7 p.m. And I hope everybody has a great evening.